Hey everybody, good morning if you guys are listening to this in BC. Good evening for people who are going to be tuning in to the UK. It's been a while since I've done this. I took the summer off and haven't really chatted anything football related, soccer related in a little while here, but I was able to arrange a live chat today with Big Steve from the Big Six podcast to chat everything Man City related. So Steve should be joining us here very shortly, so I'll wait for him to come on. We got a lot to tackle when it comes to what's been going on in the Premier League, everything sort of Manchester City related. We've got the Jack Grealish opening his very first game with the big club. We've got the preview for Man City coming up against Norwich City, their defeat to Spurs, their defeat in the Community Shield as well with Leicester City, a lot of Harry Kane rumors and things like that. A lot to talk about. I see Steve is in there now. I'm excited to finally get a chance to talk to him at long last, so let me just bring him in there. I see his request, so I'm just going to let him in right here. And here we go. And give it a second here. Steve, how's it going, man?
Very well, mate. Very well. You?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I'm excited to get back to this and start chatting with you again.
Yep. No problem.
Awesome. So you've been really busy over the summer. I know you've been back and forth checking out football matches around when the Euro was going on. You got your studio set up and everything like that now. Has all of that work and busyness helped you to sort of get over some of the sting of the Champions League defeat in addition to the Euro defeat by England?
Yeah, the Champions League one was a tough one. Obviously, to get all the way to the final, I don't think we was ever going to get a better chance of going there against a Chelsea team that wasn't the greatest Chelsea team. And I think we let ourselves down. I just think the team didn't turn up on the day. Some people were saying maybe it caught us by surprise. Maybe it did. The experience was fantastic. Yeah, I was gutted about that one. It was hard to. It was a bit hard to take when I left that stadium. I definitely thought, it was written in the stars. But look, it wasn't meant to be. We had a good season, regardless of that. You know what I mean? I think there was 69 games available to play in the season. We played 68. It was only the FA Cup final we didn't play. So any other year, that's a fantastic achievement. And as a Man City fan, I still class that as a fantastic achievement. So, we go again. But obviously Sunday didn't go to plan either. So might start panicking soon.
Well, let's start right there then. 1-0 defeat to Tottenham Hotspur. Let's get your overall assessment from their opening Premier League match as defending champions.
Yeah, according to Pep, there's a lot of players that aren't fit, hence the team selection. But to be honest, them players that he put out should have been good enough to get something at Tottenham. I know it's been a bit of a bogey ground for us and we don't really do well there, but at the end of the day, you're looking at the players we had on the pitch and they had to do better. I thought the big problem was the left-hand side, with Nathan Ake and Mendy down there. I thought that when we got forward, that the Tottenham could see a chink in the armour, so they came down the left. I think that was a big weakness for us. Everybody in the stadium in the Manchester City end could see it, so why Pep couldn't see it, I don't know. I thought the midfield at times was getting stretched. Fernandinho, he's like 36, 37 now. He was trying to get back there. It just didn't go to plan. It was one of them days where we seem to have them a lot at Tottenham Stadium. We just don't seem to get our own way. But the strike force is a problem. We're very toothless up front. It's all right having Mahrez and Grealish and Sterling, but we're lacking that real man in the middle, someone to put the goals away. And I think if we don't sign a striker this week, then we could be in for a not a tough season, because I think we'll do all right. But I just think we could take a little step back. You know what I mean?
Well, you just touched on like about 6 or 7 different points there in that little analysis that I was going to ask you. So let's talk more about the game for the time being. One thing that I noticed in the game, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is I felt like City let some of the speedy Tottenham players kind of run at their defense a little bit too much. And maybe that's more or less the midfield, but like there was Lucas Moura and Son who really I felt like had too much freedom. Is that just a case of the midfield needing to be more compact to not allow those runs down the flank?
Yeah, the thing is, when we bomb forward, if we get caught out, you've got the pace of Kyle Walker, can track back. Do you know what I mean? Zinchenko's not the slowest, but he's not the fastest, but he doesn't go too far forward. So we never really get caught on the counter attack. We did a few years ago, a lot of the time, but last season, especially with the way we changed our system, we looked like counter attacking teams was not going to get at us. But the midfield set up with Fernandinho and Gundogan in there, you know, they're not the quickest. So teams with pace fancied the chances against us, and we did look a little bit lost, to be honest. I thought Lucas Moura had a good game for them. I thought Son did, and Bergwijn did. It was just one of them things. Listen, at the end of the day, we lost 1-0 to Tottenham. You know what I mean? It's not panic stations yet. It's not an embarrassment, but when you're champions, you go in there and everyone's there to shoot you. So obviously, it's a massive result for them, and it's a big disappointment for us.
And I think historically, if you go back to last season, they did lose 2-0 to Spurs as well. And then I think after that loss was when they went on their run of like the record amount of victories as well. So there also could be something about losing to Tottenham for Man City that just like sparks this team and gets them going, because they only won one of their first 3 games, I believe, last season in the Premier League before they really started to get going, right?
Yeah, we did. I mean, it was fantastic what we did last year, and I speak about it a lot. We do need the rhythm. Man City do need rhythm, wants to get the rhythm. Pep's good at keeping that rhythm going, and he keeps the changes frequent, but he keeps the spirit high, and we tend to get results. But, you know, this season's different. You know, the fans are back in the stadium. People have strengthened. Man United strengthened. Chelsea strengthened. Liverpool have got a few of the big guns back. So I do believe that you've got to be careful this year not to open up too much of a gap, because I think you'll be chasing it all season. So I just think, look, you know, we've just got to get our rhythm back, get a win against Norwich, get a good result against Arsenal. It's all forgotten about. But the striker problem, it's a problem. You know what I mean? People look at Man City's team and they say, yeah, you've got great riches up front. We have. But they're not an out-and-out striker. We miss Sergio Aguero. I know we won the league last year with no striker, really, but that's a flash in the pan. You're not going to do that again this year. Teams are going to know what you're coming with. And yeah, I think we just need a striker. I think we need to get Harry Kane deal over the line this week, I think.
Well, historically, you touched on it earlier, the fact that they have not done traditionally well against Tottenham Hotspur when playing at Tottenham Stadium. I think they're 0-4 now at their... Are you one of those people that believes in any of those psychological things that like, oh, this team has their number? Because people might say when Chelsea beat Man City in the Champions League that they started to have their number because they beat them in the FA Cup. Are you a believer? Do you think any of that psychological stuff matters going into games like this? Like how much another team has gotten the better of you?
It can do. It can happen that. I'm a great believer in it, because it happens a lot to a lot of teams. You know, you speak to any other football fan and ask them what their bogey ground is, and it's usually a place random where they just can't seem to win. So I do get that. I mean, the Tottenham fans I spoke to at the stadium were like, oh, you're going to beat us today. And to be honest, looking at the Tottenham team, I wasn't overly worried about it. But then we were very slow and laboured, and I thought that there was times where we were walking with the ball, and it's unheard of that. We're walking in midfield, just looking around. It wasn't good, you know what I mean? And Pep's got to address that. Look, you know, It's only beginning of the season. The fans are back. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm not panicking yet. I'd like to see De Bruyne and Grealish link up. I think there's a lot of business to be done this next 2 weeks. I think Bernardo Silva could leave. I think Laporte could leave. I think 2 or 3 could come in. I'm expecting some big changes myself.
Well, one of the guys that is in the team for the time being, we'll see once they maybe get a little bit healthier how long he's going to be starting in central defense, is Nathan Ake. Ake had a difficult opening season with Manchester City. He was injured pretty much, I think he only saw the field a few times since he got his injury over the international break with the Netherlands. Not a great first season for Nathan Ake. I felt like he was really slow on the goal by Son. He wasn't adjusting his feet enough, got drawn wide a little bit too much on that particular goal. Were you surprised to see Ake start, and has he just not delivered because of maybe the spotlight being more on him with Man City as opposed to being in Bournemouth?
I think there's no doubt he's got a bit of talent. The thing is with Ake, he went from playing week in, week out with Bournemouth, so you get that match day fitness and rhythm. You come to a team like Manchester City, you're not a guaranteed starter. And one thing that annoys me is, if you're Nathan Ake, your chances are limited to get in that back 4. So when you get your chance, you've got to perform. He didn't perform in the Charity Shield. He messed up and we lost the game. And he didn't perform on the weekend. And that left-hand side with Mendy is a problem. Mendy, for me, is finished. He's finished as a top-level left-back. He was the best left-back in the world for me when we signed him. When he played for Monaco, he was fantastic. But he's had 2 knee injuries. Both knees have gone in the last few years. He's had to rebuild his fitness, and he's not the same player. You can see he's not got that turn of pace he had. He's not got that burst. He's basically not the same player, and it's a shame. But that at weekend summed him up. He's not even capable of coming in as a replacement. Manchester City have been plugging that gap in that left back position for 4 or 5 seasons, expecting him to suddenly come back as he was, and he's not. We're plugging a hole. We won the league with Fabian Delph at left back, and we won the league with Zinchenko at left back, both midfielders, and both of them are better than him, and we need to address it.
So is Ake one of those type of players then, in your opinion, that needs to play week in and week out and just need lots of action to show his effectiveness? He doesn't seem like the type of player that can play one game and then sit a week or 2 before playing. Am I right?
Yeah, he's not good enough for us. We're at a certain elite level, and you've got to be consistent. I say it all the time on the Big Six show. If you want to win the league, your players have got to be consistent. You can't be putting in 6 out of 10s and then an 8 out of 10 and then a couple of 6. You can't do it. You've got to be consistent. And then your players start to not trust the players that you've got backup. So say that if Stones got injured and Laporte comes in, Laporte is going to put in a shift. But when Laporte is injured and Stones is injured, Nathan Ake is a totally different player. And people say he cost 40 million. Yeah, he did, because Man City, we have to pay that. But he's not good enough. He's not good enough. And he's shown it every time he's got his chance. He's not. I can't remember Nathan Ake having one game where I thought he was a standout player. You know what I mean? I think his best is our average. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, to be honest, when I'm thinking about Nathan Ake's time at the Etihad so far in his brief time, the one moment that stands out, and I wouldn't even consider this a positive moment, but I believe he scored one of their consolation goals in that 5-2 debacle to Leicester City. So when you look at a highlight like that when they're getting crushed by a team like Leicester City, and I think him and Mendy gave away a couple of penalties in that game as well. So if that's your biggest highlight, then you're not having a very good campaign.
But we lost against Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nathan Ake played. I think we lost against Tottenham last time and he played.
Mm-hmm.
We lost against the Charity Shield. He played. We lost against Tottenham. He played.
Mm-hmm.
There's a regular feature running through the team with Nathan Ake. And listen, it's no disrespect to him, but I think it's just that we demand that much. We demand a certain level of performance now. We're not that team anymore where you can get away with it. We've let centre halves go. We've let Tosin Adarabioyo go to Fulham. He could have probably been an understudy at City and probably come in, but you know, it is what it is. We paid 40 million for Ake, and all I ask from Ake is when you come in the team, you know, concentrate and do your job. He just looks rocky. I don't think that the fans can take to him. I don't think Ruben Diaz likes playing with him. It's mad. It's mad.
They paid a lot of money to get Nathan Ake this summer previously. One guy they paid a lot more money to was Jack Grealish. So let's transition into that. How do you think their record signing performed in his debut against Tottenham?
I think he did okay. I think he got glimpses of what we're going to see from him. I think he did a really good run early on, and he got brought down edge of the box, which was touch and go for a pen. I think he's a marked man for the first few games. I think when without De Bruyne in there, the teams are going to get on him. Like, I think Tanganga and that got on him a few times and roughed him up a bit, which is fine. But when De Bruyne and all the boys are in there, and he just slots into that team, I think he'll come into his own. And I know 100 million is a lot of money; it's ridiculous, but that's the market now. And don't forget, only 4 or 5 weeks ago, the whole of England was screaming for Jack Grealish to be playing in the England side. And then now all of a sudden they can't wait to get on him and rip him apart, you know what I mean? Because he's cost 100 million. But look, Jack Grealish will have a fantastic career at Manchester City, I've no doubt. And I think it'll be money well spent.
I think in general, Jack Grealish is a marked man just because of the way he plays. No, just because he's such a direct type player who runs at and dribbles defenders. So you're asking for kind of really big, heavy challenges. Are you not, just the way he plays?
Yeah, I think he's the most foul player in the Premier League. You know, and I know a concern of a few City fans was that he was going to slow the game down for us because he does go down a lot. But I can't see that happening. I just think he's playing under the best manager in the world. He's at one of the best clubs in the world, playing with the best players in the world. So if you can't improve with that kind of background and that kind of facilities, then there's a problem. But I think he'll be a fantastic player for us.
Who do you think is going to suffer the most out of the City midfield? Obviously, there could be a lot happening. We could see some City attacking midfielders on the move in the weeks to come as the transfer window gets closer to closing here. But at present, which City midfielder do you think is going to suffer the most from the addition of Grealish? Because clearly Grealish is going to get the lion's share of most of the big games for the time being with the amount of money they've invested in him.
I think Bernardo Silva wants to leave. That's what I'm hearing anyway. I mean, it's a shame because he's a great player and he brings a lot of energy. But I think with Bernardo, he's been pushed out wide a lot. He's not the same player when he plays out there. The season we won the league before this last one, when he was playing in Central a lot, he was fantastic. So he's obviously, he wants to try something new. So, you know, I think Bernardo will leave. I think they'll take the money and leave. But I just hope they use the money and get a left back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, right now, that doesn't seem like the number one issue with Manchester City. But when you look at their opening 2 performances, no goals against Leicester City in the Charity Shield, goalless again against Tottenham, lots of possession. That's nothing new. We're used to seeing that when Manchester City plays. Obviously, to everybody, when you look at 2 scores with 0 on the board for Manchester City, the obvious thing is they need a number 9 goal scorer. Is that as simple as that? Is that the easiest solution right now to what's going wrong early on in the season?
Yeah, because it's telling you something. I mean, a Charity Shield, we had no players, so he played Varane. But on that weekend, we had Jesus on the bench and he plays Varane. So if you've got a striker on the bench, but you'd rather play a midfielder there, it's saying something about it. And then when you bring Jesus on, he puts him wide. So that shows me he doesn't trust him up there, or he doesn't think he's capable of that job. But Ferran Torres isn't. I think he's trying to put a square peg in a round hole with him. He's trying to fit him in somewhere, but he's not that man yet. He's just not that striker. His movement's not the same as a number 9. You know, he can sometimes see him going wide or a bit deep. We just need the striker. You can't let a man of Aguero's talents go, and then not replace him. You know what I mean? We need that striker. And for me, Harry, if it's me, Harry Kane wouldn't be my first choice. It'd be Haaland. So if I'm paying 120, 130 million for Harry Kane, why are you not going to give Borussia Dortmund that now for Haaland? Because with Haaland, you're going to get a guy for the next 10 years, and he's only going to get better. With Kane, you're going to get an instant great striker, but he's only going to decline, coming up. So it's
and that's probably just strictly to do with age more than anything else, because time gets the better of us no matter what. Would you say that?
Yeah, but some players, they excel with age. But you look at players like Wayne Rooney, all of a sudden Wayne Rooney instantly just went off. Aguero the same. He sort of instantly, you could see a difference in him, in his level of performance. And I think Harry Kane's that kind of guy. I think that's what's going to happen with him. The injuries are coming a little bit more frequently now with the ankles. I don't believe Manchester City are that stupid. And I think they've acted stupid not getting Messi, even though Messi became available after they signed Grealish. I don't care. I think with Pep Guardiola and with Tixi Bergstein, Saran, and all them Barcelona boys at Manchester City, there was nobody better equipped to persuade him to sign for a club than us. And we've missed a trick with that. And I think he's took Paris Saint-Germain to the next level now, on and off the pitch. So I was a bit annoyed about that, but I'm trusting in Khaldoon. I trust in Pep. So we'll see what this week brings.
Well, and Pep did say recently that he still thinks that they are capable of winning a lot of games, potentially winning the title without a number 9. Is that just him saying what he's supposed to say to the media? Like, does anybody actually realistically believe that City can repeat what they can without a number 9 for the entire season and playing with a false 9 once again?
Yeah, he's talking nonsense there. He's playing a few mind games, I think. I think he can win the league one year playing that way, because you take people by surprise. People don't think you're going to set up like that every game, and before they know it, you've won it. I think if we go into the season with no striker, everyone knows how we're going to set up, and I think it'll be tough. I do. You've only have to see it now. A lot of teams defend deep against us, and if you've not got a man that can unlock the door, you can spend the whole game banging at that door and it ain't going to open, you know what I mean? And that's what happens a lot of the time.
Let's transition into the number 9 that's been talked about for quite some time now, and that's Harry Kane. If they do get a deal done, which they're up against the clock now, there's only a couple weeks to go before they can get that deal done. Do you expect them to break another transfer record if they do get a deal done with Harry Kane?
Yeah, it's obviously looking like that Kane's the one they want. Obviously, Tottenham have got their stance on it. They're going to want more than 100 million, which they're entitled to. He's their player, and everybody knows we've got the money, so they're going to want the big money. I don't know. It could end up in a standoff between City and Daniel Levy and go nowhere. Man City could go late for somebody else. We've seen it before. But I think Harry Kane's made his feelings known in Tottenham as well. So he's obviously unhappy there. So Tottenham are not in a good place. You don't want an unhappy striker there. So they might just take the money, I think, and move on.
Do you think that there is something to the fact that Harry Kane, I never really heard I kind of heard his name talked about just because he was available throughout as the season wound down last year. But do you think when he was playing with England alongside Raheem Sterling, was there something about the chemistry of those two together that maybe enticed City's front office to be like, okay, maybe Kane could be our guy instead of a Haaland or a Lionel Messi?
I don't know. I just think Harry Kane's very consistent. If you look at his numbers right across the board, every season he's chipping in with 20-plus goals and assists. I think he's very consistent. So I think he's not a risk. You know what I mean? He's not a risk. Is Haaland a risk? For me, he's not a risk because I think he's a fantastic player. But to the men at City, he could be a risk. But I just think, for me, Haaland is the better option. But I just think they're going to sign Kane. That's what I'm hearing.
Is there anything, it seems pretty clear that Tottenham are trying to get the maximum value and really kind of like pushing up the price, probably because they can when it comes to a player the caliber of Harry Kane, especially with the season he just had, because I believe not only did he win the Premier League Golden Boot, but I believe he also led the league in assists as well this past season. So he's added a lot of elements. So when you put up those numbers, you demand a lot of money. Is there a possibility that City might be okay with like holding on, kind of like Man United did with Jadon Sancho? His price was skyrocketed the summer before, and Dortmund drove the price up on him. Could they possibly wait it out another year and maybe Kane's value goes down a little bit next summer?
No, I think we move on then. I just think he's 29 then. You can't wait. We need a striker now. We can't wait. If we don't buy a striker, we don't win the league. It's simple as that. There's two strikers out there, Harry Kane and Haaland. You've got to break the bank for both of them. But if you're paying 100 plus for Kane, surely to God you stretch it and get Haaland. You've got to do it. The commercial aspects of Haaland and the longevity of Haaland makes absolute sense for Man City, the way we buy players. The Kane deal, from the outside looking in as a Man City fan, doesn't look like a deal that we would do. But according to everything around Manchester at the minute and what I'm being told, it's obviously, they want him. So, I mean, it's a mad one. But if he comes in and Man City hit the road and win the league again, maybe win the Champions League, it'll prove money well spent.
Do you think they're going to need to offload a couple of players in order to like sort of sweeten the pot with Tottenham Hotspur, send a Bernardo Silva over there, possibly send Gabriel Jesus, some of the maybe more expendable players with Man City? Are they going to need to offload some of those players to Tottenham in order to get a deal done in the next couple of weeks?
I don't think them players want to join Tottenham.
Yeah.
No disrespect, I don't think they will. I think if City needs to let them go, I think it's just going to be straight cash with Spurs. I think Bernardo want to go abroad. I think Jesus will stay. But yeah, I think Tottenham want the money. But the thing is with Tottenham, don't forget, they've had this situation before with Gareth Bale, yeah? And they got big money. And they blew all the money on rubbish. And that's what they're scared of doing. Would you give Nuno Espirito Santo 130 million to spend on Tottenham Hotspur? That's a problem. It's down to their own self-belief, not ours. We've got the money and let's get the deal done. But it's what they then have to do it, because then them Tottenham fans demand a striker, a Harry Kane-like striker. There's not many about.
You mentioned two strikers. I'm going to bring a third into the conversation right now. And that is just because I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I'm curious to hear your opinion. Cristiano Ronaldo, apparently, it seems pretty obvious he wants out of Turin. He wants a move somewhere else. And he has apparently offered himself to Manchester City. If there is any truth to that, is that a viable solution? Can they bring him in for a lot less than they might for Harry Kane, given the season Harry Kane just had? Probably not.
The Messi deal doesn't make sense then. Why have you not gone for Messi?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And plus Ronaldo's a red. He's one of them. He's not one of us. He'll never be one of us. You know what I mean? And I don't want him at Man City. He's a great player, probably a nice guy, but to me, he's always been a red. And he's not for me. Nah, I don't want him. He can go and have his retirement somewhere else. But Messi's the one that came by and sailed past, and we didn't act on it for me. So Ronaldo, he can go. The Man United still think they've got him on loan. He's loaned out there, so he might be better going on the other side of the Manchester than our side.
Fair enough. Is it interesting because over the last few years, I think, is it still an odd feeling as a loyal Man City fan to see so many players talk about, well, I want to go to Man City because I want to win trophies? It seems pretty clear that's why Harry Kane wants to move to Man City, is to win trophies. It's a different feeling from maybe 10, 15 years ago at Man City. But like Grealish, it seems kind of the sticking point for him to leave was winning trophies. It seems that's the same thing with Harry Kane and a lot of guys over there. Is that a different feeling for a Man City loyal fan to have players do that for that particular reason?
Yeah, of course. Look where we are now as a club. Look where we was 10, 15 years ago. Well, longer than that. It's a total different universe. But the thing is with us as well now, we're one of the best run clubs in the world. So if you think about it, these guys have got to choose where they want to work. And then you look at Manchester City, the facilities, the structure, the way they look after the players, the way they're competing on every front for every trophy. There's not many places in England better to work than that. So these players want to come there because it's now been turned into the best club in England for me. And, you know, you can't blame them for wanting to join. At the end of the day, it's took time. But hats off to Sheikh Mansour, Khaldoon. And, you know, these players are now coming because they can see things are happening at Manchester City. When we first got the money, the players came for the dough. Adebayor, Kolo Toure, Craig Bellamy, people like that probably came for the extra 100k a week in the pay packet. But at the time, we had to do that because we had to become a top club overnight. So we had to throw a lot of money at it. It's like you buying a store next to a bigger store, and you have to compete with that store. So you've got to throw money at it to get it to that level, and that's what we did. And now we're standing on our own 2 feet. We've been the most dominant football team in English football for the last 10 years. And we ain't going away. So all these people that are sitting there all jealous still of Man City's money and that, they just got to get used to it.
I touched briefly about the England team earlier, and I touched about some potential chemistry between Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling. I want to go a little bit more in depth into Raheem Sterling. Tough season last year for Raheem Sterling. Didn't see the field a lot near the latter stages of the season. Goal statistically, obviously, it was a bit of an off year for him. He still gets a lot of playing time. I think he's one of the most used players since Pep Guardiola took over. He had a great Euro campaign for England. How much do you think he needed a campaign like that to sort of regain his confidence going into this season?
Yeah, coming towards the end of the season, the business end last year, he wasn't firing, and Raheem's very much a confidence player. Where if he's on fire and his form is top notch, then if he's suffering a little bit, he stinks the place out. You only have to look at on Sunday. Tanganga hit him with a tackle within 2 minutes, rattled him up. That's his game's finished. Then he's not coming anywhere near him after that. That's Raheem Sterling for you. You know, but when he's confident, you hit him with that tackle and he bounces up and then he's going at you straight away and then he's round you and then he's in, and then that's the difference with him as a confidence player. Pep obviously sees him in training all the time. His selection in the Champions League final was a bit puzzling for us all in the stadium, but look, Raheem's one of us, and he's you know, he's done a lot for Manchester City. So this season's a new season, and I hope he has a blinding season. But the Euros, he was fantastic. He gets a lot of stick. I don't think there's a football player in England, probably Rashford. Him and Rashford probably get the most abuse. They can't do anything on and off the pitch without it being, you know, torn apart. So Raheem Sterling, yeah, he's a great player. But he didn't start well at weekend. A lot of them didn't. And I just hope he can carry that confidence from the Euros into the season.
So coming into a season after he had a bit of an off year at club level, the year before that, I believe he was one of the nominees for PFA Player of the Year. I think he had 20 goals the year where they were runners-up to Liverpool. So he had a banner year a couple of years ago. After an off year this year, what do you think are the realistic expectations? Is there like a set standard, whether it's statistically or anything else, that you think, what's a realistic goal that Sterling should be able to achieve this year?
I mean, he'll know his own goals himself, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, within that Manchester City team, it just shows you last season, Kevin De Bruyne got injured and we were all fearing the worst. Then all of a sudden, Ilkay Gundogan steps up, smashes in a load of goals, assists. He's getting talked about as Player of the Year because people step up. And the thing is with Sterling, as long as he's contributing to the team, as long as we're winning games, you know, whether it comes from Raheem or Mahrez, you know, they all chipping in with a fair share. I just think when Phil Foden's back, Raheem's got a battle on his hand for that left side. And if Foden plays the way he's been playing, he might lose his place.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good possibility given the form of both of those and how much up and coming Foden's breakout season last year, but I guess that will remain to be seen. Let's look ahead to this weekend, playing Norwich City, a newly promoted side. When you play newly promoted sides, I think Norwich may be a little bit of a unique one because they've been kind of a revolving door in and out of the Premier League and the Championship over the last few years. But when you play promoted sides early on, sometimes there's that energy and enthusiasm that a newly promoted side wants to just go at a big end team. Is that the biggest concern when you go up against a newly promoted side? Is their energy and enthusiasm to want to have a big result? Because you see usually promoted sides pull off good results. We saw Brentford last week against Arsenal. Is that going to be the biggest challenge for them to just mitigate the energy of a newly promoted side going into this game?
Yeah, because they've got the tails up, haven't they? They've got promoted, so they're buzzing all summer. They're back in the Premier League. The fans are there, so there's a bit of a buzz around the club. They did beat us a couple of years ago at Norwich, but it's a different kettle of fish coming to the Etihad. I think they're going to come here and think this is the Premier League now. They got sorted by Liverpool weekend. I expect Man City to deal with them convincingly at home. That's not me being big-headed, but I just think if we can't get past Norwich, then it's what's the point? I think we'll beat them easily. I think Norwich are in for a tough season. Don't think the signings he made are up to the level of the Premier League. It could be very bleak for Norwich, I think.
Is it better, do you think, that these early games, that games against newly promoted sides, I got to think it's better to have those games at home than have to travel to newly promoted sides, right? Just because of there's not only the energy and the buzz that, like you said, about we're playing in the Premier League, but there's also like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 fans that have that buzz on you. So that's can be a lot to overcome.
Yeah, look at Brentford Friday night. They got a good new stadium. They got a load of fans. They've never seen the Premier League before, 70-odd years. The manager's really passionate. The players bought into it. And I think the fans got them over the line, you know what I mean? Norwich have been in that position before. Brentford are going to have a good few weeks because they're going to be on a buzz. But the thing is with Brentford, as soon as they get smacked, that's when they're going to have to come back. That's when someone gives you a crack and it hurts, you got to get up and go again. And a lot of teams then, that's when you find out if they truly got it. And that's when I think the struggle starts. Norwich, they've been smacked a few times over the years, so they know what it feels like. I just think looking at the Norwich team, they're not good enough. But the Brentford team, especially at home, could pick up some surprise results because I don't think people are going to fancy going there. You know what I mean?
I do agree with you on the Norwich thing. The other side, I guess, of the conversation when it comes to Norwich is that over the past few years, they have still been able to keep they don't have the same nucleus of players from a few years ago, but I'm looking at their Krul has been one of their mainstays in goal. Todd Cantwell, Timo Puku, Billy Gilmore is on loan from Chelsea as well. Who's the biggest player on the Norwich side that they really need to watch out for?
I mean, Timo Pukki scores goals. He's done it in the Premier League before. Cantwell's a good player. They're talking about teams looking at him. So they have got individual players. They're not a poor side. They're in the Premier League. But looking at Man City's team, it can come from anywhere with us. With them, I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, because I give Toby some grief on the Big Six about Tottenham, and it's come and bit me on the ass. So last thing I want to be doing is disrespecting Norwich. But look, I just don't think they're in our league, and I think we've just got to deal with them. I think if they can keep over Todd Cantwell, Pukki, players like that. They signed a player from Werder Bremen called Milot Rashica. And Milot Rashica, not last season before, had a fantastic season with Werder Bremen. Everyone was after him. I think he had some injuries last year, and they've got him for like 7-8 million. If he can get on form, I think he could be a good player for Norwich.
One of the players I mentioned is Billy Gilmore. Is he sort of going to be their player that they're going to have to, that Man City is going to have to key on in midfield?
He's a young player. He's a great talent. But looking at our players in midfield, we should be getting the better of them. I can't see Billy Gilmore doing too much. That's me being honest. But watch him score a thunderbolt now and win the game, Joel, and jinx it.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think I felt like once Tuchel took over as Chelsea manager from Frank Lampard, it seemed that Gilmore was kind of in and out of the lineup for Chelsea going forward, and sort of just on there on a periodic basis. Does he need a place like Norwich where there maybe isn't as much pressure on him, where he's going to see a lot more of the ball most likely and be dependent upon a lot more? Does he need a team like Norwich City with less pressure to have a bounce back campaign?
Yeah, I think with Tuchel, he hasn't got the time to blood him in the team. So, and I think Gilmore's ready to play. The difference with Foden situation at City and that is that Pep was watching him week in, week out, so he knew eventually he was going to make it. I don't think Tuchel is overly convinced that Gilmore can get in that Chelsea team. So it suits both parties for him to go on loan. If he goes on loan to Norwich this season and basically plays regular and he's doing things in the Premier League, assists, scoring goals, getting involved, then he slides straight back into Chelsea next year and they've got a new player on their hands. It's like a new signing. If he doesn't quite come off, then they'll get some decent money for him. But yeah, Tottenham did it last year. They sent Oliver Skipp to Norwich. He had a season with them. And he's come back a better player and he played on Sunday. So it works sending these players. It does work, you know what I mean?
What kind of changes do you expect? We saw I was surprised to see John Stones on the bench for the entire game last weekend. I got to think Stones is probably going to drop back in along with Ruben Diaz. We saw Ruben Diaz be able to play several games on a weekly basis. So I don't think there's any sort of a fatigue factor with a Diaz. What other changes do you agree Stones gets into the lineup? And if so, what other changes do you see?
Mendy's got to come out for me. Zinchenko at left back or Laporte. I like to play Laporte at left back, and I'd keep him at left back and tell him not to go bombing forward. If he stays at left back and he's got Raheem Sterling in front of him, he don't need to go bombing forward. If we have a back four of Laporte, Stones, Diaz, and Walker, it's a great back four. So that's what I would do. But I think he'll play Zinchenko because he likes the midfielders to come in, the fullback to come in. I think Rodri could start instead of Fernandinho. I think De Bruyne could start in there as well. Maybe with Grealish, and because we're at home, so I could go with a Rodri, a Grealish, and De Bruyne in the middle, and then it's going to be Mahrez, Sterling, and I'd put Jesus up front. Me, that's what
a lot of options and a lot of things to talk about going into this weekend. Lastly, Steve, what kind of a score are you expecting for this weekend?
I think Man City will bounce back. I think the fans at home as well. I think they know, we demand better than what we've seen the last few times. We've lost the last three big games. We've lost the Champions League final, the Charity Shield, and the first game at home. So I'm expecting a reaction. I think it could end up.
Was it 5-0 last time they played them at the Etihad? Do you see something similar to that?
Yeah, I can see that. 4 or 5, I think. But I'll be honest with you, I'll take 1-0.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Steve, before I let you go here, I know you've been doing a lot of work getting your studio up. You've still got the Big Six show. Anything you want to plug or shout out when it comes to that stuff before we say goodbye for now?
Yeah, my YouTube channel's there's no videos on it yet. It's at Big Steve MCFC. That's all being set up. We're gonna have some good content on there soon. Obviously, follow me on the Instagram. And then tune into the Big Six show, which is on Turkish London channel. We did a show last night. I don't know if you caught it, but it was hilarious. I got a lot of grief last night, but no, it's a good show, man.
And if you want to hear more football content, not just English related, but you can catch some of my columns on Sports Bowl. Steve, have you been following the inaugural year of the Europa Conference League?
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've seen bits of it, but obviously it's I don't know. It looks a bit shambolic to me. I've seen grounds with trains running across the side of the pitch. I've seen teams playing with no numbers and drawing numbers on the back of the shirts with biro. It just looks a bit of a mess to me, that.
Well, as a journalist, it was a huge mess to have to preview. I've got a couple of previews that I'm going to be putting down later on today on sportsbowl.co.uk. Carabag taking on Aberdeen in the first leg of their playoff. Lask taking on St. Johnstone as well. Really had to stretch to find a lot of relevant information, statistical information from those teams. So if you are, I guess people who follow the Scottish Premiership might be into some of that stuff, but previews on that. Next week, there's going to be some English Cup, Championship Cup stuff. Do you keep in touch with what's going on with the other teams in the Greater Manchester region, the Wigans, the Boltons, and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time because we're local, so we do see it. I've got a couple of friends who are Bolton Wanderers fans, Oldham Athletic fans, so yeah, we do see what's going on.
So we're going to have more content. That's going to be coming up next week. There is Bolton Wanderers are taking on Port Vale, Wigan Athletics taking on Wolves under 21 stuff. So a lot of football to touch on from many different leagues, many different levels, and so on. Steve, thanks so much for your time. It was great catching up with you after such a long sort of hiatus.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me on anytime, yeah?
All right. Take her easy, man.
See you soon, mate. Bye.
Cheers.